I see a few comments out there asking for an endgame version of my build, and while I did cover that at the end of my video, it's clearly the weakest part of the video, and for good reason. The rest of the guide feels really strong, it feels fun to play, and I felt very confident about everything I was saying as I tested it from level 2 deep into endgame doing tier 15 content with that exact setup. It was only when I spent a lot of currency on my character that the minions got out of hand. Their damage without gas arrow was clearing T16s with +2 to monster level, which I believe are what people are referring to as tier 18s, but please do correct me if I'm wrong. For bosses though, I couldn't cast gas arrow and have enough mana to cast flammability and pain offering, so I realised I needed to drop gas arrow and move to a full physical build, which worked very well. But gameplay wise, it felt like us as the character had nothing to do, which is why I said in my guide, maybe don't follow exactly what I did and use what I've created as a template. To my surprise, that's what people did, and I got suggestions left, right and centre for different changes we could do to the build. Some I've had time to test, others I haven't. My huge surprise was a lot of demand for me to try my build in SSF and give some updates and feedback on that, and that's where most of my time has been spent. I'm halfway through Act 3 on Cruel right now, and it's going about as well as I could actually hope for. I won't spoil everything, but we are getting really lucky with drops. I have died I think 8 times now, but I promise you that's not the build's fault, it's almost always me being an idiot. That's where we get onto today's video topic. I would love to make a new endgame only guide for you, especially if we look at the analytics of my last video. I have never ever seen a video do this well in terms of views, likes, comments, and look at the amount of subscribers. I've got more viewed videos, but never in such a short space of time. So firstly, thank you so much for 1500 subscribers, 1600 subscribers, and we're really close to 1700 subscribers. I have an alert set up for the rare times that I stream, and it's been going off so much recently, I've actually gone to bed hearing the alert sound in my head. Seriously, thank you all so much. Now, the issues. In my video, I was perhaps overly confident with how happy I was with the build, as I've been making changes based on the comments I've received. This is a problem, because now it's delayed the endgame version until I can give you something that I'm confident is the best choice to play. But also, I don't want you to waste resources following what I say unless it's definitely the right thing to do. In my last video, I said there wouldn't be changes to the passive skill tree, but now I've tried all sorts of slightly different variations. The one I'm running currently is a tiny slight bit of difference, but this slight means you do go and pick up Deadly Swarm in the passive skill tree. Now the reason that's a problem is because I told you to allocate that in your necklace, and I'll go more into detail on that very soon. I am more than happy enough to use all of my currency items and all my gold testing things until I can give you a solid build. But when I've put something out there and so many of you are following what I have said, I generally feel guilty if some of you have spent currency and now I'm telling you to make changes. I got a few comments suggesting that I'm actually wasting a lot of currency allocating Deadly Swarm, and my argument was that it's the only damaged minion node left, and if we pathed down to pick it up, it would be the most skill points we would spend to get a single node. So I allocated it instead, and after looking through the whole tree again, I missed 2 nodes way down at the bottom that do actually give you more minion damage. For that reason, I actually pathed to pick up Deadly Swarm now, and I allocate one of those nodes in the bottom in my necklace instead. In total, this change has cost me 2 divines and about 40 exalted orbs. There are also a few comments saying that crit is just not really worth it on this build because the minions have a base crit rate of 10%, and this is true. But I think the one thing that they're missing is the sheer number of minions we have summoned. I don't know if crit is calculated per attack or per projectile. As in, when your minion shoots, is each one of the projectiles caused by Scattershot and Fork getting its own roll for a crit, or does it calculate it based on each attack by a minion? Either way, 20 to 25 minions, all attacking roughly once per second when Pain Offering is active, that increased crit is probably doing more than some people are giving it credit for. Plus, in Deadly Swarm's case, it does also provide extra minion damage. Otherwise, looking back through the tree, we basically have all the damage nodes possible, besides the few clusters right down at the bottom of the tree. So in terms of damage, there's not really anything better for us to pick up. That being said, there was a comment giving me an idea that I didn't fully grasp until reading back over my own build notes. Near Lord of Horrors at the top of the tree is a passive node that lets our minions provide the Withered debuff. Withered makes your target take more damage from chaos damage. So at first I thought this was useless since either we run physical minions or we explode the gas, converting all the damage into fire damage. There isn't really any chaos damage to ramp up here. However, I completely forgot about the node Entropic Incarnation, adding 8% of physical damage as chaos damage. So actually there is an argument to be picking up this withered node, but sadly the connecting nodes are not minion damage, but area of effect, which can be useful for gas arrow, but Scattershot basically covers that need all on its own. And I wouldn't drop Scattershot as it drastically improves our clear speed. So leave that idea with me and I will test it out. Another idea was suggested to allow us to start using gas arrow once again by taking Mind Over Matter and Eldritch Battery, meaning our mana pool now acts as our energy shield, and our energy shield is converted all into mana, in theory giving us thousands of extra mana to cast gas arrow. Sadly, the conversion was not 1-to-1, and even after lots of playing around with my passive tree, I could not get a large enough mana pool to feel comfortable running this, especially since it's recommended to pick up the belt Midnight Braid, which really gets in the way of one of my big changes I planned for my endgame version. My idea from the start was to actually get a really good Venter's Gamble. It's a unique ring that has Spirit Roll on it, but even better than that, its other rolls include max life, all 3 elemental resistances, and rarity of items, with its base also being rarity of items. The downside is all of these values can range anywhere from -40% all the way to +40%, so to try and get a good one of these is going to cost a lot of money. Thankfully I got a really crap one from a ritual run a few days ago. I've just been too scared to hit it with some divine orbs, but for this video I did hit it once and I was happy enough with the result to start using it. Since it's a ring I would love to use 2 of these, but as it's a unique item we can't do that. What we can do though is to boost its effect with a really expensive belt called the Ingenuity Utility Belt, though to get one with a really high roll would cost a lot. So my plan would be to save up and buy any non-corrupted one and hit it with divine orbs until I was happy with the result. But one of the biggest benefits of actually going back to gas arrow is the amount of stagger damage the gas arrow itself can do. Now that I'm going back through and leveling on SSF again, I completely forgot how frequently we stun the boss. So that and the big explosion are 2 things I really miss from swapping to a full physical version. Lastly, I've watched loads of videos on builds and build guides, and some of the builds out there are so insanely complicated that I've got this weird feeling that my little simple build is just not good enough. And there has to be some sort of complicated tech out there that can allow it to just one-shot these endgame bosses, but I've not found anything. So I do wonder if I've just basically reached a limit for these little minions. We can do basically anything, but I would love to be able to essentially one-shot the endgame bosses like I was doing throughout all of campaign and a majority of maps. In short, I'm not convinced if I was to make an endgame guide for you right now, it would be the best thing that I could put out there. Especially now that GGG are back to work, who knows what changes are going to be made. Maybe some minions get a crazy buff, maybe gas arrow gets nerfed, we just don't know. But I am working on it, and I'm pushing as hard and as fast as I can through SSF to get that information out there for you all. However, nothing is stopping you from following my advice in the previous video, skipping to the end of my video, copying my skill gems layout, and following the passive tree, as the tree is completely fine. Just maybe hold back for now on allocating Deadly Swarm in your necklace until I've had some time to test some more things out. Anyway, huge thank you once again for all the crazy support, thank you for watching the video, thank you for listening, and I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye.